All right, 2-7 is percent of change. We're going to do find out what percent of change means, and we're going to solve some problems that involve percent of change. We're going to be using cross products to solve this problem, so what we just did in the last lesson. Percent of change is the ratio. We have three vocab, right? Percent of change, percent of increase, and percent of decrease. Here the definitions are right here. So percent of change is the ratio of the change in an amount compared to the original amount. And we're going to express that as a percent. That's what that definition is. Now, if the new number is greater than the original number, it's going to be a percent of increase. If the new number is less, then it's going to be a percent of decrease. And we'll look and see what that looks like here in just a second. All right, let me get rid of this. Okay, percent of change. We're going to take our, say we have an original, when we first tried to run, we were able to do 20 laps originally. And when we finally practiced, we could do 23 laps. So our original is 20 here, and our final is 23. All right, so the way we would find percent of change is we're going to take the final number, subtract the original number, and that is going to give us what the change is, right? The change would be, in this case, we're going to have the final, which is 23 over 20, and that's going to be 3, right? For example. And we put it over the original, and the original was 20. And we put it proportional to x over 100. And then all we have to do is solve for x, and we can find out what the percent of change is. So 23 minus 20 is 3 over 20 equals x over 100. So we have our final number of laps subtracting our original number, and the change was 3, right? So 3 over the original amount is 20. Now we cross multiply and we get 3 times 100 equals 20 times x. So 300 equals 20x. I divide both sides by 20, right? And I find out that x equals 15. Thank you very much. So 15% is the amount of the percent of change. And is it an increase or a decrease? It's an increase because we went from 20 to 23. So this number is greater. So therefore it's a percent of increase. Okay, let's look at another problem. Problem B. Our original is 25. Our final is 17. So to find the change, we're going to take 17 minus 25, the final minus the original, over the original, which was 25, and we'll put that proportional to x over 100. 17 minus 25 is a negative 8 over 25. Is this an increase or a decrease? It's a decrease, isn't it? So I'm going to remind myself it's a decrease. Okay, equals x over 100. Negative 8 times 100 is negative 800. I'm going to skip that little step. And 25 times x is 25x. We'll divide by 25 on both sides. Oops, not negative, but just regular 25. And we find out that x, a negative 800 divided by 25 is 32, or negative 32, right? So it's a 32% change in decrease. It's a decrease change. Here are a few practice problems for you guys. There are 4 of them. Don't panic, there are not too many altogether. This is the most that you'll have in one section. And you have maybe 3 others after this, so that's a total of 6 or 7, I think. Go ahead and do those and catch back up with me. All right. Oh, we're going on a cruise. No, we're not going on a cruise. But this problem tells us the total number of passengers on cruise ships increased 10%. I'm going to remember that. I'll need that. Between 2007 and 2009. there were 17 million passengers in 2009. How many were there in 2007? All right. The next thing we're going to do is just ignore this. Don't even read that. All right? Okay, thank you. All right, so what do we know? We know in 2009, which would be how it ended, so that's my final, we had 17.2 million people. The beginning, in the original, do we know what that is in 2007? No, so that's going to be X. That's what we don't know. That's what we're going to find out. And how about our percent of change? Do we know that? Yes, it's 10%. Okay, now let's set up our problem. 10% written as a ratio is 10 over 100. Good, I'm glad you realized that. Thank you. Now, we're going to remember we're doing final minus original, right? Final minus original on this side over the original. So in the end, there were 17.22 million people minus the original, which we don't know. Okay? And that is over the original number, which we also don't know. Okay, we're going to do cross products and solve this. Okay, so 10 times x is 10x. That was easy enough. 17.22 minus x times 100. That's not so bad. Now let's solve this side. So we have 10x equals 100 times 17.22. Do not get out your calculators. How do you multiply it by 100? You just move the decimal. If it's 100, you're going to move it 2 places. If it's 10, we would have moved it 1 place, right? So we're moving it 2 places. So it's 1722 minus 100 times x, which is 100x. Add 100x to both sides, and we get 110x equals 1722. Divide by 110, divide by 110. And we find that x equals approximately, because we're going to round, ooh, I had this number, so 15.65. Approximately, squiggly line, 15.65. What's that answer represent? The sentence would be, in 2007, there were approximately 15.65 million passengers. Okay? Okay, very good. All right, now you get to try one of those. Here you go. Good luck with that, and catch back up with me. All right, so 2 applications of percent of change are when we have sales tax or when we have discounts. So this is something you're going to use a lot. So that's why I thought we would do, that it would be important to do this chapter. Sales tax is an example of a percent of increase, right? You're going to have to add something on to it. It's going to change the price. It's going to increase. Discount is an example of the decrease. All right, let's look at a sales tax problem, shall we? So the first step you're going to have to do is to find how much the tax is. Find the tax amount, right? And how would we do that? Well, 7.25 over 100. 17 is, what's our total sale? X over 28.62. Right? So you want to know how much, 7.25 compared to 100, how much of this will be the tax compared to the costs of whatever we're buying, wire and beads, right? So you do the calculations and you find, you cross multiply, you get 100x equals 7.25. Yes, you can get out your calculators for this one, and you would find out that x equals 2.07 495. All right. So I'm thinking, oh, they aren't. Then we have to, so we know that that's the cost of the tax. Or let's just round that to $2.07. All right. So that's step one. Then step two, what does that make the final price of the sale? Well, you had $28.62, right? And then you have to add the cost of the tax. We do this all the time, or you should be doing it. Maybe you do it on your calculators or on your phones, right? Have an app. 9, 6, 10. So the final cost is $30.69. Let's find the percent of change. The original was, here it is, 28.62, right? And here's the final. So the final 30.62 minus the original 28.62 over the original 28.62 is equal to x over 100. So what's $30.69 minus $28.62? Do we have to find? Oh, well, guess what? Well, I beg your pardon, guys. We only had to find the final cost. What is the final cost? So do we have the final cost? Yes. The final cost is $30.69. So you had to calculate the tax, and then you had to add the tax onto the original price to get your final price. So we don't have to consider percent of change in this problem. Isn't that nice? One less big step. Okay, here's a problem for you guys to solve. DVD costs $24.99 and sales tax is 6.85%. Good luck with that, guys. Okay, now we're going to do discount on car insurance. Since Tyrell earned good grades in school, he qualifies for the good student discount on his car insurance. And actually, that is a real thing. So if you guys have good grades, you can get cheaper car insurance for your folks. His monthly payment without the discount is $85. If the discount is 20%, what will he pay each month? Okay, so the discount's 20%. We have to find out 20% of $85, right? So that's 20 over 100 of $85 equals what over 85? All right, so we're going to go 20 times 85 equals 100x. 20 times 85 divided by 100. We find out that the discount of 20% would be $17. It's 17. If you do this calculation here, you'll find out that x equals 17. So that means, so we find out the discount. This is our discount. Now we have to find out what is the final price going to be. So that's sort of step two. What's your final cost? Well, in this case, it's a decrease, right? So originally he paid $85, and now he can pay $17 less. And so what's his new cost going to be? His new cost is going to be $68. So you'd write a sentence. Tyrell can pay $68 a month now. And there's your guided practice for this problem. And that is slide number 10. Nice short lesson. Good luck with that, guys.